Don't forget to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube. Let all of your friends and family know to subscribe so that you know when the Center of Hope is going live.
Well, welcome to Real Talk. I'm your co-host on tonight, Bishop Mitchell Taylor. And if it's Monday night and it's 9 p.m., you know it's time for Real Talk. Listen, do what I'm doing tonight. Hit that share button and tag as many people as you possibly can. I need to get at least 200 shares on tonight. Those of you that are watching us after the broadcast has aired, I need you to hit that share button too. You may be watching this on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. I need you to hit that share button and let the world know that Real Talk is on the air. I want you to know that Real Talk is on the air on tonight. And so certainly we invite you to hit the share button, invite as many people as you possibly can, and let them know that we're on the air. And we're going to have a great time on tonight. Great time on tonight. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Let us know that you're here in the virtual sanctuary on tonight so that we can get going. I'm certainly excited. We have a special guest on tonight. We've got a lot of things to talk about on tonight. And we really look forward to the conversation. Let me encourage anybody that is trying to get into the studio on tonight. I don't know how you got this link, but this is not the link to view the program. This is the link for guests only. So if you're not a guest, I don't know how you got this link, but this is not the space for you. All right. Thank you so much. All right. All the real talkers, where you at tonight? Come on into the virtual space tonight and join us for this conversation at Bishop Mitchell G. Taylor. Listen, if you're not following us on Facebook and on Instagram, follow us now at Bishop Mitchell G. Taylor. Go to the page, follow it, like the page. And if you're not following us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. There is a repository of ministry resources that you could benefit from at Bishop Mitchell G. Taylor. Also, my co-host, Bishop Liston Page II. Please go to Liston Page Ministries 2, and you'll be able to like that page, follow that page, and go to the YouTube channel and follow it. There is a repository of ministry gifts there. It's scrolling on the bottom of your page. Now, I want to give a shout out to one of my sons on tonight, Pastor Hassan Clark. I'm telling you, he's a great preacher, great man of God. And like his spiritual father, he's also an entrepreneur and a businessman. That's amazing how that anointing just drops on people. Anyway, I'm wearing one of his outfits on tonight for Real Talk, God Fam Doe. And this is embroidered stuff here. I'm telling you, it's really good stuff on tonight. But I got a little commercial for you. Let's play the commercial. Hey guys, I just wanted to let you know what I was wearing. I'm sporting some brand new merch from one of my sons, Pastor Hassan Clark, who is the designer and the originator of this stuff here. God Fam Doe. You got to get this. I'm telling you, I got black, I got red. I ordered some more colors. Listen, what got me was, look, you got the pockets here, the zipper pockets. You know how it is, guys, how change always falls out when you got those open pockets and whatnot, trying to wear a comfortable sweat. Well, this is it, man. It's a nice hoodie. I got it. Listen, it's really comfortable. It fits well. It wears well. I encourage you, go to the website, God Fam Doe. Not just merchandise. It's a lifestyle. All right. Listen, let me bring my co-host on, the Honorable Dr. Liston Page II.
Man, it's good to be here tonight. Listen, before we even get started, I want some God Fam Doe apparel. I'm so insulted I am so insulted tonight that I don't have no God Fam Doe apparel on my backside on tonight. No. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't
I'm
want to hear it.
sorry.
Yo,
I'm sorry.
worshiping at my father's church. And first, you done took over my father's church. I want the red. I want the black. I want the green. No, Hassan, stop. Don't show up tonight. Don't do that. Don't show up tonight. But now you want to give me some God Fam Doe. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Extra large. Listen.
All right.
Listen, Mitch, you need to get me some, because I'm gonna come by my father's church tomorrow to get my apparel. What's the problem?
All right. Well, listen, I promise you, well, first of all, he has offices in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So he could be to your house tonight. He could be wherever you want him to be. Matter of fact, Pastor, if you have the capacity, I will text you the address. We will be off. We'll be off at 10:01. If the saints are good to us in the offering, we might even be done sooner. But listen. Listen.
I want my God Fam Doe apparel.
That's right. And listen, put the web
here with red shining, the words, all that. And I got on a Los Angeles. Listen, that's a mess. Wait, yeah. You got the matching watch too? I got the
JUNETEENTH watch. Listen, I got this thing going on. Red, black, and green. Don't forget the red, black, and green, brothers. I got the Pan-American, Afro-American flag on. I got everything working.
God,
everything working.
Mess. That's a mess.
I think. I don't know how it happened, but I think our link got leaked to the general public because, believe it or not, people are chiming into the backstage,
the private chat,
into the backstage area. So I don't know how they got it.
Okay, but I don't see it on my end.
Maybe we going viral.
I don't know. But I don't have it on my end.
No, you wouldn't have it. It would just be on this end. The producers, I don't see it either, but the producers are letting me know that random people are coming into the waiting area. I love it. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, listen, we got so much stuff to talk about. First thing I want to talk about is, let me see what I got up here. Juneteenth. Now, Pastor Hassan, you know I love you, bro. But this is a winter hoodie. And I love, listen, watch this list. He's doing exactly what Bloomingdale's and Saks, and they get all their fall merch out now. But so I'm just letting you know straight up, in a few moments, amen, I will be coming out of the hoodie. I got the pants on. Listen, and this is embroidered. Listen, when you get your stuff tonight, yo, you're going to love this stuff, man. You're going to get it tonight. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I want put that website up one more time. I want everybody. I want every real talker to go to godfamdoe.com and buy at least one tracksuit. There they go again. They're in the backstage again. I need everybody to go and godfamdoe it. It's not just apparel. It's a lifestyle. I'm so proud of him, man. You know what I'm asking God for? I'm asking God for $1 million worth of sales.
Wow.
That's what I'm praying for him. I'm praying that God will give Pastor Hassan Clark $1 million worth of sales.
It ain't happening until I get my product. Listen, I don't care what you prophesy.
Yeah, you're right. You know what, Pastor Hassan? Listen, I don't need no dead cats on the line. So get that man the product tonight. All right. Because if you make $1 million, I'm making 100,000. Or at least the church gonna make 100,000. Because see, one thing about Pastor Hassan, he tides to the letter.
That's right.
Matter of fact, he's like me. He overtides. And so, all right. So let's get going. Let's get the show on the road here. All right. So we're talking about Juneteenth. Now, I'm gonna get you started in a minute, but I ain't gonna get you started right now. All right. Don't do it. Do not do it. We're gonna talk about Juneteenth. Okay. All right. Now, Juneteenth was signed by President Biden on Thursday, June 19th, 2021, as a national day to commemorate the end of slavery. Well, we've been celebrating that for the last 150 years. But President Biden, I'm glad you caught up with us and realized that we free now. And there should be a celebration of that freedom. And I'm so glad that President Joe Biden was the one that signed that legislation on June 19th, 2021. So thank you, Mr. President, for signing that legislation. So now I had your dad laughing the other day, Sunday, and he says to me, he said, "What do you think about Juneteenth?" I said, "Well, I think it's a shame that we was free 2 years and them brothers and sisters in Texas were still slaves. They got the word late and they still fooling up on it." I can imagine when somebody say, hey boy, you free. What? Man, the president signed the Emancipation Proclamation 2 years ago. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And so the folks in Texas finally got the word, and black folks were made free. Now, I don't know. What's your take on the celebration, the highlight of Juneteenth? What do you feel about that?
Hey, I think it is long overdue. And I'm grateful to God that we do have now a national federal holiday that commemorates those who were in Galveston, Texas, I believe, and now we can celebrate. We can really celebrate our freedom. So I'm excited about it. I want to applaud everyone that had anything to do with the legislation. I think it's marvelous. And I think that we should not take it lightly, but we all should get on board, and we should mark this day out on our calendars every year, and we should celebrate. We should memorialize to some degree. We should make it a day of learning. We should teach young people whose shoulders we stand on as it relates to this day that we commemorate. So I think it's a marvelous thing. I really do.
Wow. Okay. And, I realize that, it's something that we should tune into and tune our churches into, more and more each year, to highlight it so that the history isn't. Where'd you go? Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So that the history is not lost. You know what I mean? And I think, my fear is that every generation will actually begin to memorialize it and understand how important it is, to continue passing down the history. One thing, and I know, Bishop, if I just push play for you, you could tell us in 60 seconds how intuitive Israel was in memorializing a lot of the things that happened historically.
Yeah, well, God told them, anytime you get a certain marker in the journey, I want you to put down a memorial there. I want you to never forget. Don't let your children forget. Rehearse it in their ears that they have come out of 430 years of bondage. We're not going to celebrate the bondage, but we're going to celebrate the memories, the freedom of being bound. All those years now we are being liberated, but we cannot forget. So let's memorialize certain markers on our way out. When we get to the Jordan, put the 12 stones in the midst of the Jordan as a reminder. And I think Juneteenth for us, though those in the state of Texas may have still been bound or enslaved because they did not get the legislation or it wasn't being purported. But if one is bound, we're all bound.
That's
so
right.
I think this is a great time for us to even tell the story how Lincoln signs the Emancipation Proclamation, and because of the intense hostility towards people of color, Black and brown bodies, that they were not disseminating this information to all of the states. I mean, we need to talk about that. How did something like that occur? So I think this is a good teaching moment. And I think we should never take it lightly, our freedom. And I think we should support days like Juneteenth and Martin Luther King days and all of the things that have been given to us through our sacrifices, particularly of our forefathers. I think we really need to highlight days like today.
And that's a great segue into what Reverend Al Sharpton is doing in commemorating the 60th anniversary on the March on Washington. And I'm not sure, T, if you have that exact date, but I think it's in August. We have a bus or two leaving from Queensbridge, from Northwestern Queens. I love to have a bus leave from Patterson, bus leave from Harlem if folks are interested. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring my son this year. My son, Mitch. I'm going to bring, hopefully, I'm going to bring my son in love. You know, I'm going to bring, hopefully I'll bring my grandson. He'll bring his son. You know what I mean? I want to bring some other young people. I want to bring some other grandchildren and I want to bring some other, I want folks to experience this. 60 is a significant milestone, 60 years. And so, you know, I just think it's something that we should all, you know, think about and work towards. So I'll give more information as we get closer to that date in August. Okay. Now I know this is something that's real close to your breast. In 1966, President Lyndon Johnson was issued the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers, designating the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. That's interesting because I was born in 63. So in 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers, designating the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. And this is going to blow you away, Liz. Here's a fun fact. You're going to love this. Watch this. 6 years later, the day was made a permanent national holiday by who? Drum roll. Richard Nixon.
Wow.
He signed it into law April 24th, 1972. Wow. Richard Nixon. So, you know, on Father's Day, Liz, you can go to any restaurant. You don't need a reservation. If you get a Father's Day gift, you know, Praise God. Let me just say publicly to everyone at the Center of Hope, thank you immensely for every card, every Zelle, every PayPal, every Cash App. Listen, thank you for showering us on Sunday. You know, thank you for the gifts that you gave the Bishop Page Sr. on Father's Day. Thank you. And I want to thank my family, all my family. You know who you are. Thank you for your appreciation of me as a father. Thank you. And I just wanted to say that publicly. And listen, I know you probably want to say the same thing. You
Listen, my family has been outstanding. My daughter, my son, my grandchildren, Lady Page. Listen, they have treated me and showered me with so much Father's Day love. I can't even express it enough. And then my church, the Highway Church, also known as the Highway Nation, was just amazing and tremendous on yesterday. But I still believe that there are some fathers out there that feel as though they're getting the short end of the stick. And I think good fathers, fathers that protect, fathers that provide, fathers that are present, don't get enough credit. So kudos goes out to all of those type of individuals that are not running and hiding and disappearing from their responsibilities, but they are there on the front line with some modicum, even if it's a modicum of leadership. We applaud those men and those fathers on tonight, because Father's Day by far is no way compared to Mother's Day.
That's true.
I get it. It economically, in terms of advertisement, it is not given the same I would say value as Mother's Day. And that's not to take away anything from the mothers, because mothers are invaluable as well. But I think and I feel that it is time for the brothers, fathers, to be recognized, but particularly those of us that are good fathers, good men, attempt to do everything right. Do we do it right? No, but nobody does everything right. But at least we're giving a perfect effort. So I think we should be applauding men like that.
Bishop, I'm with you 1,000%. And you know what? You went easy on him tonight. You went easy on him tonight. Because Father's Day, on Father's Day, we get an Applebee's steak.
But see, the problem is we can't go in too hard because we are treated so well. See, the problem is if we were not treated well, then it would be a reflection of the negligence of our families. But we don't have negligent families. Our families step up and they make sure that we feel valuable, significant. So those that are feeling disregarded, disrespected, overlooked, devalued, I'm here to herald for them. But you and I, we can't honestly stand in that light and carry that baton, because we would be disingenuous. But I do believe there are fathers out there that need to know you are appreciated.
You're appreciated
greatly.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Well, there you have it. You heard it from Dr. Bishop. Listen, Page II. Let's honor the fathers. Let's do a better job. Let's honor the fathers. Matter of fact, I'm declaring, this is going to blow you away. This is going to blow you away. I'm declaring it right now. Father's Day next year will be our annual Men's Day. I'm going to move my Men's Day to Father's Day. I'm going to see how that works. Pass us on. 2024 men. You already got the Men's Day schedule. There you go. Men's Day will be on Father's Day. What more appropriate time to get the support of men than on Father's Day?
That'll be good. That'll be good. And
You
I'll
know?
do the same. And I'll do the same.
Awesome.
I'll
Awesome. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Matter of fact, we might even make a Father's Day weekend out of it and do a joint luncheon or some type of thing. And, you know, so let's plan that. Let's get the two ministries together and start thinking about that as we're going forward. All right, listen, our guest is in the background, and we have a tremendous guest on today. He's been with us before. He's no stranger to Real Talk. His name is Pastor Owen Williams, and Pastor Owen Williams is a tremendous man of God. As you can see, I'm just pulling up his bio here, and here we go. Just want to read a little bit on tonight. Pastor Williams is the pastor of the St. Mark's Missionary Baptist Church, where he served as senior pastor for the last 18 years. I just preached his 18th pastoral anniversary, and maybe it was 19. And he serves as director of pastoral care and services at the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation in Kings County. There he oversaw spiritual care for 700 beds in the hospital. He serves as the president of the Queens Churches, Queens Federation of Churches, and he is also clergy liaison for the 103rd Precinct. He is also involved in a lot of other things, but one of the main things that he blessed us with last time he was here was with the book that he wrote on legalism and liberalism in the church, and preparing us for his new book that came out just recently. And he's here to talk about that on today, American Christianity. And it's a very interesting book, a great read. I want to encourage everyone. Do we have something on that? I want everyone. There it is. Pastor Owen Williams, American Christianity, Black Liberation, White Legalism. Available on Amazon. There's the link. There's that handsome man and his picture right there. And I want you to welcome every Real Talk. I want all the Real Talkers tonight. Help me welcome to the platform Pastor Owen E. Williams.
Pastor Williams. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for being on with us tonight.
You and Dr. Page look like you got younger. Must be the GoFam.com sweatshirts.
Well, let me say this. Before you even get started, I didn't get the first book, and I certainly don't have the second book. And you were supposed to get me the first book. Now I probably know now I'm not going to get no second.
That's not true. And you know, I don't want to do the old Potomac two-step that they do in Washington, D.C., but you forced me to dance on public TV. My friend, your friend, never gave me your information.
You know what? I'm so glad you shifted that to my best friend, Mitchell Taylor, because he knows I love to read. And I have already started looking at the cliff notes of American Christianity, Black liberation, white legalism. So you're touching on something that is dear to my heart, particularly when I studied Black liberation theology in seminary, who the founder was James Cone. So I'm ready to kind of get your thoughts on Black liberation, white legalism.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's a great subject, and it's a great read so far. Me reading the Cliff Notes, so I'm really glad you're here with us tonight, Pastor. I really am.
Well, you like how I dance? Yeah,
man, you did great.
I heard you guys talking and everything in reference to that and about Father's Day, and I didn't know it was signed. I'm also a 63 baby, so I didn't know it was signed in 66, and I didn't know it was a federal holiday because it happens on Sunday every time. So like that, so I didn't know it was a federal holiday. So that's
you know, that's interesting. You know what? That's interesting because it is a permanent national holiday. But you're right; it always falls on Sunday. Yeah. But we don't get the money. Why don't we get the Monday?
Why don't we get the Monday off? Right? Yeah.
Now, don't Mother's Day get the Monday?
They don't get it.
I don't think so.
No.
The only one that gets it is President's Day.
See, white legalism.
Well, Martin Luther King get the Monday.
He gets Monday.
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, that's a great point, Pastor Owen. I learned something from you already. So let's get into your book, man, because your book is deep. It's informative. What made you write this book, American Christianity? What gave you the inspiration to write this book on American Christianity? I mean, to me, it sounds like a white Jesus with blue eyes or something. What made you write that? When I say that, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm talking about, I'm not trying to discriminate. I'm just saying it just sounds whitewashed. What is American Christianity?
Well, all right. So I'm gonna try not to get too theologically deep. You know, Dr. Page talked about Professor Cones. He formed Black liberation theology. Liberation theology came out of South America by the Jesuits, and how they dealt with the poor and the oppression in South America. But I wrote this book basically looking around what's happening in our country in the last, I'd say 10 to 12 years, and looking at the church specifically. Now, I'm not coming hard on the church, but the church seems to be consumed with itself and not what's going on around us. And, you know, what was really, you know, crystallized it is what happened in the last 7 years with President Trump and the MAGA movement and everything happening with that. So I did some research to find out how could my certain segments of our brothers in Christ look at the same thing I'm looking at and not see what I'm seeing. And I wanted to know where this dichotomy disparity came from. So I started researching the church itself, and and I went back as far as the Nicene Council in Rome, and all the way up to the Papal Bull of 1445 under Pope Louis, and it took me in different directions. And what I came up is that the foundation of the Western world and the church profited heavily from the transatlantic slave trade, the discrimination of Jews coming into the Christianity and Muslims converting from that stuff, and doctrines like the cleanliness of blood or the sangria de soul, those doctrines that were signed by the Papal Bull. And it also came into, with the expansion of the sugarcane plantations in the Caribbean, and the profits of that brought us to where we are today. Now, I'm trying to bring it small in a discussion, but there's a lot of detail going on there, and certain things have come about in an attitude towards Christianity from some people to other people. And if you want to say it from white people to black people, you can say that too. But even black people need to be liberated from the trauma that they've suffered, or I love Juneteenth, but I'm not a big celebrator of these kinds of things because holidays and ceremonies don't liberate me. In essence, from that, from that process, true liberation comes from me being content with self and not putting on the trappings of success, but knowing that I'm successful, in whatever state I do. In other words, as they told Micah, walk humbly with that God and love mercy and love justice is what I require of you from that process. I also looked at Africans and Africa in the Bible, and I like when Bishop Page was talking about the altars. Well, that's the Cushonites, and the role that Africa and Africans played in the Bible, as well as their, the saving of the Christianity we celebrate today was saved at Nicene Council by the African bishops, when Emperor Constantine called that first council together, and it ended with the last one in 1962 called Vatican II, that ushered in ecumenical ministry. So all this history was there, and trying to put it together and organize it to show people that the church's silent and sometimes passive attitude towards entitlement and greed and racism is not good, for the faith. It presents the faith in a way that it's not supposed to be presented, and the true church, if I should say that word, should stand up and say that's not what it's about. It's not really about marches either. It's not about money. It's not about big cathedrals. It's about liberating people, which is what salvation is, the renewing of your mind.
Pastor, could you expound just a little bit? And I know that Bishop Page has a question for you, because I can tell. What do you, when you say the true church, and if you can say that, what do you characterize as the true church? How do you characterize the true church?
Well, I didn't want to use that word true church because there's no such thing as the true church. Let's just say the ecclesia, the called out. Those who have accepted the call and come out of the way they think and decide they're going to live according to the teachings of the gospel, and we all selectively follow at times that process, and the selections, all depend on what it's going to cost us, right? From that aspect. So liberation is to be liberated from the fear, I guess, of what's going to hinder you from truly following, as much as you possibly can.
One of my, I'm not a scholar like you and Bishop Page, and I'm gonna move over so Bishop Page can conjecture with you tonight. But one of the early books I bought on liberation theology was "Cursed and Not Blessed" by Jefferson Edwards. I don't know if you know that author.
Yes.
But he talks about to be enslaved because of choices made is one thing. To be in bondage because of religious or political convictions is a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so my first question for you is, and I did get a chance to read some things in your book. What did you mean in chapter 1 when you talk about the climate of ministry today? I know you kind of touched on it when you said why you wrote the book, but what do you mean? Because you specifically talked about the climate of the church, and why it troubles you today.
If you think about the climate that we live in today, that we preach in, that we witness and evangelize in, it kind of lines up perfectly with Apostle Paul was telling Timothy. In these last days, men will be lovers of themselves and boasters and blasphemers and braggers and that kind of stuff. Well, that's a very hard climate to do ministry in, because that's a ministry climate of competition, competing, and comparing. And it's very difficult to do ministry in that process, because ministry is ministering, loving, caring for people, and it doesn't require big suits and pulpit ministry and preaching from that process there. So one can do ministry. So the climate of ministry today, and that's I'm giving a very first step process of the book, but it goes into details of, we have a lot of the reasons for the anger and the issues stem from our history in this country. So there's a lot of trauma, in Black life, and sometimes they don't want to hear about your Jesus, or they want to support you and your church and stuff like that. These are the tough climates that we deal with in ministry today. And how do you penetrate that mindset? Because 25 to 30%, 15% of us are really truly practicing in the faith. Rest of us say we are, but they're not giving, they're not practicing, they're not coming from that process. So how do you penetrate that mindset of where they are? And good teaching is part of it and everything else, but
that's a startling statistic, and I hate to ask you to cite your source. 15% are actually practicing what we believe. Now I'm gonna leave that to you and Bishop Page, because that's wow. Bishop, wow.
I mean, this is an interesting conversation. And I really, I don't even know where to really start, uh, because there's so much that has been said, even about the true church. You know, I wish I can go back to that, but I want to press on. I want to press on because that true church concept is not foreign. And I don't think there's anything wrong with you making that statement. There's nothing wrong with that, in my humble theological opinion, when you had our church fathers who, Augustine in particular, that wrestled with the whole idea of a visible church and an invisible church. And he called the invisible church really the true church, those who were baptized into the body, but he could not separate invisible from visible because both groups practice their faith traditions under the same roof. Now, what was being produced, of course, is very, very different. So that's another argument. and we talk, when we talk theologically, we talk about argument. It's just nothing more than conjecture and debate. But then I would like to get into the whole idea of Americanization of our Christianity, which is a watershed. So we see white legalism in the propagating of the gospel in America through that white watershed, or should I call it westernization, colonization. We get a distortion of biblical texts through all of those different types of markings or lines of demarcation that we call watershed. But I would ask, this would be my question I would ask to you, how can we better address the myths of Africans and Africa in the Bible? How could we really address that to show people that there is a black and brown body presence in Scripture, and we don't have to be intimidated with the Semitic being a prominent ethnic positioning in the Bible as well. But Semitic, African, they all assimilate together in scriptures. But because of the watershed gospel, we don't see a lot of our African black people being highlighted. How could we address that better?
Well, Bishop, I'm glad you said that. We have the Bible is full of scriptures, you know, in the Old Testament and in the Psalms and stuff, where God's referring to Cush. He told Israel, aren't the Cushonites to me like you are to me? The love he had for Cush. And when you're talking about the Cushonites, you're looking at the areas of Keturah, South Sudan, and Sudan, going up into Egypt. Even to this day, at the temple at Karnak, one of the top kings that had a treaty with Hezekiah, to defend them from the Assyrians, was in the Bible, and you could see his African features in that process. And I list all of them in the book, and that's in the Old Testament. Moses' first wife was a Cushionite, and his second wife was a Cushionite. And if the first wife was a Cushionite, her father was a Cushionite, which means that it was an African who wrote most of the Jewish dietary laws, was written by an African from Cush, Cushionite from there. The one who saved Jeremiah was a Cushionite, when he was hanging in the cistern with rags and brought him out, he was an African. I mean, they're Africans. Solomon was in love with Africans. Solomon fell in love at a kindred spirit with, a queen from the other side of the sea, Red Sea, when she came to trade with him on his growing maritime, and industry, and he conversed with her. Now, whether that relationship was sexual or not, he found a kindred spirit in her from that process. So the Bible speaks of all that. And then you get into the New Testaments, which it doesn't speak about, but one must understand that in the apostolic to the sub-apostolic eras of the church, you had the church was a very ragtag, persecuted group of people, and they were compromising until Emperor Constantine, and upon that place when he decided to bring them together at the Nicene Council in AD 325. And I don't want to get too deep into this, but to make a short story out of it, what you're having is 1,800 bishops are called together, 500 Africans, and they were going against the first split of the church, Arianism, where they were deciding that was Christ of God or was he a prophet from that process. And the bishops came up with something called the Apostles' Creed when they excommunicated those three. And that's the environment that Constantine and everybody else followed from that process in the putting together of the canons that we celebrate today. But make no mistake about it, it was Africans and African bishops from Carthage and Alexandria, all around there that put that together.
Wow. I'm gonna sit this out. Go ahead, Bishop. Go ahead.
This is good. Before I say it, but see, that is the history that people need to know, and that's the history.
Yes.
That deny that.
Yes.
From that. So we have been liberated, and we have been participants in the gospel from the beginning. From the beginning, active participants from the beginning. And for some reason we got evicted out of the process.
Well, I don't think people understand the contributions of men like Tertullian and Origen, who are all patristic church fathers that help shape the study of the Trinity. Origen taught us systematic theology, but the Christological debates that took place from, I would say, the 4th century on really also had to do a lot with that Romanization and Europeanization, where they did not want to acknowledge Africa and Africans and people of color, and they wanted the dominant race or culture to be that European culture. So that's where all of the artifacts started being changed, and the paintings started being changed to reflect Europeans more than Semitic people and African people. But we don't hear this type of gospel being perpetuated and being taught because people find it to be mundane, archaic, irrelevant in their minds. What I'm saying, I believe there's no way to experience Black liberation or a liberation at all if you don't understand history and the traps that have been set through Westernization and Americanization. How the gospel that we purport is a white privileged gospel. And we don't talk about that enough. And we started seeing the underpinnings of that through the Donald Trump era of his presidency, because the evangelicals started really showing us the only thing they had to hold on morally was not liberating people that were bound, but they wanted to hang their hat on anti-abortion, which is important, but that is not really the lightning rod issue. It brought a lot of polarization, but that was not really the issue.
It's a scapegoat. You scapegoat abortion, you scapegoat LGBTQ, you scapegoat all those things, and stop dealing with the actual heart and nature of man. But Bishop, I want to go back real quick. You talked about the statues and stuff, and really and truly, in the first 500 years of the church, as I said, the church was persecuted, then it wasn't persecuted. And in that process, because what this book does, it makes it, we deal with theology, but we also deal with psychology, and we make it real for people that as you see the church growing and people found it very profitable to become Christians in Rome, they brought their culture, their pagan powers. So the Madonna became the Virgin Mary, Jupiter became Peter. Moon Day became Monday, Freya Day became Friday, Thor Day became Thursday. So you see those things coming into the church, and the church accepting it because they didn't want to lose that position of where they were and go back to being persecuted. Also, the question is, where did the Bishop of Rome, the Pope, get ecclesiastical power of all churches, as well as military and civil authority? Well, that came from when Rome went to Constantinople, and they left the bishop in charge of the western front of the empire there. And this is what Daniel talks about in the 2nd chapter, in verses 40 to 43, about the mixing of the clay and the iron, meaning that we have great propensity to do great works and terrible atrocities. And it says they will try to reinvent itself, and we saw that 5 times through Charlemagne, through Hitler, through Napoleon, trying to revive the Roman Empire. So we see that happening. And now Europeanism, I think that from what my research shows, it was basically profit. It started in the Caribbean. It started with the Indians and the Chinese, and then bringing the Africans there. And it was massive. It produced chocolates and coffee and tea. And they also found it in European industry that sugar was a stimulant to keep people up so they could work longer. So these sugarcane plantations were massive. At one time, it was the top gross national product in the world. So yeah, and yes, the people who are doing the slave labor have to be kept ignorant and denied.
Well, Pastor, listen, we got about 6 more minutes, and I don't know how we're going to do it, but I got one more question for you, and then I got to raise an offering and ask, give people a chance to chime in tonight with any questions they may want to put in the comment section. But why do you believe, and I think this is in chapter 3 of your book, and if I'm wrong, you'll correct me, but why do you believe the church has been divided by doctrine, race, and status, position?
Well, I think, doctrine shows because of the different, or the splits of the church, Calvinism, Martin Luther's Reformation, the Anabaptists, to where now to Anabaptists became the Amish people from that. So you see different doctrines and different churches splitting, Church of God in Christ, and so from that aspect. Race, we have it because of racism in America and separating people. We couldn't worship together. First church in America was founded in 1790, I believe, around there, and the First Baptist Church, and then Church of God in Christ came in the early 1800s. But they were all had to be worshipped separately from that process. And status is a thing that's coming up with the mega churches today, where you see now that significance and big money, and from that aspect, there's not a whole lot of brotherly love between the storefront, and the mega church per se. And unfortunately, that's a stain on us. That when you get to that level, you don't go back, or you can't. It's I'm not supposed to speak to a fellowship, with anybody up here, and it goes and that highway is a two-way street, and that we didn't write this gospel, and it's not our power. We preach it in, and so we see those 3 divisions that happen on a daily basis in the church, which also now shows the impotency of the church today.
Wow. Bishop Page, I don't know if you have another question to add on tonight.
Man, there's so much I would just love to sit down and talk with him. He's so full of knowledge and history, which is right down my alley. But I think what I would want you to address tonight, if you could, it is going to be very difficult. And when I went through the Cliff Notes, I wanted you to kind of talk about the papal power and who gave this power to the Pope. For our audience, I can go through it, but I think it's important for our listeners to know that the Constantinian Christianity that we practice, that's going through all of these different lines of demarcations that we call watersheds was a politicized Christianity. It was not the Christianity that was being practiced the first 300 years. It was a Christianity that after the Edict of Milan was signed, that there was no more persecution. So I want you, if you could just touch on that real quickly about how the Pope or the Papal evolves out of that Constantinian structure of politics.
Yeah, the papacy came about somewhere between, I would say, the late 400s to about 538 AD. And it was Emperor Linnaeus from Constantinople, where they had already given the Bishop of Rome authority to do certain things, which brought about really and truly the first split between Eastern Orthodox and the Roman Catholicism. But he gave when they left and moved their administration to Turkey, Constantinople, they left the Bishop of Rome in charge of Rome, and he was given ecclesiastical authority, civil authority, and military authority, which is now the Vatican.
That's right.
Process. And in that process, you've had many popes who did terrible things to negotiate, to get money, to deal with many really rogue nations, to keep the papacy in power. So, once again, and this is not attacking the church, or this is history. This is attacking Catholicism, because we all come from that, and we practice that. But I just have a feeling that if people knew the history and understanding of their minds would open up with their relationship with Yahweh.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow.
But now I am going to make sure that I get your email, your phone number, and your address. And if I don't get it to you or call you, blame the man to your left.
Well, Pastor, listen, I want now the first 5 people to type in the comment section, I want that book, and put your address in. The first 5 people, you're going to get this brand new book by Pastor Owen Williams, American Christianity, Black Liberation, White Legalism. Trust me, it'll make you smart. It'll make you smart. I'm not smart. I only play smart online. But when I read this book, it makes me smart. So listen, the first 5, all right, Melinda Williams, number 1, Alacia Davis, number 2. We got 3 more books left. Gwendolyn Ennis, number 3. Beverly McLenny, number 4. Eunice Newland, number 5. That's it. Sorry. Those five. Let me announce the winners again. All right. Alacia Davis, Melinda Williams, Beverly McLenny, Gwendolyn Ennis, and Eunice Newland. Drum roll. Brrr. All right. You guys are the winners. Please put your addresses in now. Alacia, put your address in. Beverly McClenny, put your address in. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Email us. You don't want to put your address in the chat. You're right. Email us at kohigives@gmail.com. kohigives@gmail.com. I'm sorry. Thank you, producer. Email us at kohigives@gmail.com. Okay, it's right in the chat, and now it's right on your screen. All right, kohigives@gmail.com. Those 5 people, email your address, and Pastor Owen Williams is going to make sure that you get that book.
So real talk, we're going to donate the first 5 books, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Put me down for 5. I'll do 5 as well. Okay. So all together, we want to give 10 books out. So I'm going to ask the producer to go back after the show, and those names that just happened to get in late, 5 people that got in late, we're going to make sure you get a book. We're going to make sure you get a book.
Okay.
Sure you get a book.
All right. You heard it. Bishop listed page to said you're gonna get a book.
Bishop Page, Bishop Taylor says he's not smart. It reminds me of a TV show I used to watch years ago called Columbo. Columbo used to set you up.
Listen, we know everything he is saying is conjecture. It is not real. It's conjecture. Okay.
Yeah.
But this has been absolutely tremendous tonight. It really has. Absolutely tremendous.
Well, listen, put the ways on the screen to give. I just want to give 25 people a chance to sow $20 seed tonight. Do it really quickly. 25 people sow a $20 seed tonight. And I'm sure that the Lord will bless you real good for the same. Pastor Owens, any final remarks? Any final challenge? Any final comments to the Real Talkers tonight?
Man, it's just so good to be with you guys tonight. It was a last minute thing, but you called and I jumped, Doc. So I always enjoyed it.
Well, wait, no, I don't think. I mean, we talked about this 2.5 weeks ago, right? Yeah. Now I'm gonna tell you what my father said. Now 2.5 weeks may be last minute to you, but my father told me, and I never did that to him again. He would call me up to preach. The first time he did it, he called me on a Friday night. He said, "Oh, I'm so proud. My son is gonna be preaching." I said, "What? Who?" I was like, "I'm not preaching." And when I got up, and I was like, "Well, I didn't know." When I got in the office after that, he said, "Don't you ever in your natural life say I just asked you to preach."
Amen.
You better have a message in your Bible every time you walk in this church. He got me so bad. Listen, I had 2 messages.
Well, my spiritual father used to tell me, Bishop Betts, he says, carry one in your head, one in your heart, and one in your pocket.
That's a 3-night revival. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Pastor, thank you so much for being here tonight. Bishop Page, any final remarks as we're waiting for folks to chime in with their seeds and put in the comment section? Done tonight, so that we can.
This has been great. On this, I wish we had more time, but I'm sure we'll get Pastor Owens back on with us again.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Listen, Pastor Owens, thank you. Real Talkers, thank you. All right, you heard it right here with us on tonight. Thank you, Pastor Owens. Liz, another one for the history books.
Hey, it's Mitch. We keep coming up with content, and if it's not blessing them, it's certainly blessing me.
It's blessing me too.
This was outstanding. And I'm getting ready to go on another call, and stuff he talked about tonight, I'm going to talk about on this call.
Wow. That's good. That's good stuff. Well, listen, I'm not going to hold you. Get to your call. And I just want to tell the Real Talkers, listen, that we have our Wednesday morning word. Put it up real quick, T. 6 a.m. in the morning. I have a word for you every Wednesday, a fresh word from the Lord. So listen, I want you to meet me on Wednesday morning, okay? And then on this Friday night, listen to me, everyone. This Friday night is the homegoing celebration of my dear mother, dear member of the church, Sister Wendy Pittman. Sister Wendy Pittman. This Friday night, the viewing will be from 4 to 7. I'm sorry, from 4 to 6:57. 4 p.m. to 6:57. And then they'll close the casket. If you want to view, please be there between 4 and 7, because I'm praying that after we finish viewing and we close the casket, that we will go into the celebration, and that will be the last time that you would have seen Mother before the celebration. Because after we celebrate, we're not going back down. We're going to stay up. All right? So be on time. Get there so you can view, and then service starts promptly at 7 p.m. on Friday night. There'll be no fall of the prophet this Friday night, okay? We will be at First Baptist Church of East Elmhurst, 100-10 Astoria Boulevard, right in the heart of East Elmhurst, First Baptist Church. And I want to be mindful, and I want to thank the good folks at First Baptist and Reverend Dr. Patrick Young for always opening his doors to us when we need his facility. So thank you, thank you, thank you. As you're sowing that, thank you, Barbara Waring. Thank you, Jatan. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you for sowing your seed on tonight. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much. I'm asking those of you that can to sow that seed of $20. I just need 25 people to do it. And God will be glorified. Heaven will be enlarged, because we will continue to program things that will reach the hearts of people. All right. Walk with the King today and be a blessing. See you next time.